Thank you, Your Honor. Case number IT0480I. The prosecutor versus Zdravko Tolimir, Radivoje Miletic, and Milan Gvero.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you. Mr. Miletic, before we proceed any further, I would like to make sure that you are receiving interpretation in a language that you can understand, I will repeat. Before we proceed any further, I want to make sure that you are receiving interpretation in a language which you understand.
A microphone for the accused, please.
Nemam prevoda na srpski.
I'm not receiving any interpretation into the Serbian language. All I can hear is the English.
Can you check the channel on his receiver, please? It should be on channel 6, I think. I will repeat. Mr. Miletic, before we proceed any further, I want to make sure that you are receiving interpretation in a language which you understand.
Sada čujem.
I'm receiving interpretation in a language that I understand now.
I thank you. If at any time during the proceedings there are problems with interpretation, in other words, if at any time you're not receiving interpretation in your language, please draw my attention straight away.
The answer was not audible.
Yes. Could you repeat your answer, please, because the interpreters did not hear you.
U potpunosti sam vas razumeo.
I have understood you.
I thank you. You may sit down. Mr. Gvero, same procedure with you. I want to make sure before we proceed any further that you are receiving interpretation in a language which you understand.
Yes, I am.
I thank you. And the same advice, if at any time there are problems with interpretation, please draw my attention immediately.
Thank you.
Down. Appearances for the prosecution.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Peter McCloskey for the prosecution, assisted by Janet Stewart.
I thank you and good afternoon to you and your team. Appearances for Mr. Miletic.
Good afternoon, Your Honour. My name's Peter Morrissey and I appear as duty counsel only today on behalf of Mr. Miletic.
Okay, I thank you. And I note that you are appearing as duty counsel. Appearance for Mr. Gvero.
Good afternoon, Your Honour. Stephen Poles, similarly appearing as duty counsel for Mr. Milan Gvero.
Okay, I thank you, Mr. Poles, as well, and good afternoon to you both. Now, I will give a start now to the procedure proper relating to the initial appearance. And before I do so, I wish to advise you, Mr. Miletic and Mr. Gvero, that in terms of both the statute and the rules of evidence and procedure of this tribunal, you have a right to remain silent. I suppose you know already what that means. Basically, it means that no one can force you to answer any questions or to say anything in this tribunal from now onwards. You are here because an indictment has been issued and confirmed against you by this tribunal. And I will start by, first of all, giving some details about this indictment. I understand that you will later on be waiving your right to have it read out in full, but but I think it's fit and proper that I do give some details rising out of this indictment, not only for your own sake, but also for the public that will be following these proceedings. Mr. Miletic and Mr. Gvero, you are included in the indictment which carries the number ICTY 0480I. This indictment was confirmed by my colleague Judge Dakun Liu on the 10th of February of this year, and actually relates to three persons: the two of you and Zdravko Tolimir, who is not here today. The case, or the existence of the indictment, was made public as regards you, Mr. Miletic, and you, Mr. Gvero, following the decision of Judge Liu of the 23rd of February of this year. And subsequently, the indictment was also made public in relation to the other co-accused, Zdravko Tolimir, as a result of another decision taken again by Judge Liu 2 days later, namely on the 25th of February of this year. I take it that you, Mr. Miletic, correct me if I am wrong, you surrendered to the custody of this tribunal, and that you arrived at the seat of this tribunal here in The Hague this week, namely 2 days ago, precisely on the 28th of February 2005. While you, Mr. Gvero, I am informed you surrendered to the custody of this tribunal and arrived last week on the 24th of February 2005. I decided to combine your initial appearance with that of Mr. Miletic, because I was informed that Mr. Miletic's arrival was imminent, and therefore there was no point in having two separate initial appearances. Otherwise, I would have held the initial appearance before. The indictment against you states that during the time period relevant to the events which are described in it, Zdravko Tolimir was the assistant commander for intelligence and security of the main staff of the Bosnian Serb army. Henceforth, I will refer to this army as the VRS for short. At the time, you, Mr. Miletic, was, according to the prosecution, Chief of Operations and Training, and Deputy Chief of Staff, or was standing in for the Chief of Staff, and also of the main staff of the VRS, while according to the indictment, you, Mr. Gvero, was Assistant Commander for Morale, Legal and Religious Affairs of the main staff of the VRS. According to the indictment, the three of you, that's Mr. Tolimir, you, Mr. Miletic, and you, Mr. Gvero, are individually criminally responsible for the acts or omissions of your subordinates pursuant to Article 7.1 of the Statute of this Tribunal. Basically, this means that the three of you are charged with having committed, planned, instigated, ordered, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, and execution of the crimes which are brought, with which you are charged, and which I will mention very shortly. The three accused are charged with the following counts as set forth in the said indictment. You have against you, Mr. Miletic and Mr. Gvero, 4 counts of crimes against humanity, which are grounded under Article 5 of the Statute of this Tribunal, these being murder, persecutions on political, racial and religious grounds, inhumane acts, that is forcible transfer and deportation, and in addition 1 count of violations of the laws or customs of war, which is grounded under Article 3 of the Statute of the Tribunal, consisting in a charge of murder. The indictment alleges that the 3 of you, that is Mr. Tolomir, you Mr. Miletic and you Mr. M.Gvero, together with other VRS and MUP Ministry of Internal Affairs officers and units and Republika Srpska officials, which are or who are identified in the indictment, prosecution alleges that you were members of and knowingly participated in a joint criminal enterprise and operation, the common purpose of which was to force the Muslim population out of the Srebrenica and Zepa enclaves to areas outside the control of Republika Srpska from 11th March 1995 through the end of August 1995. According to the prosecution, the execution of the joint criminal enterprise and operation to force the Muslim population out of the areas of Srebrenica and Zepa actually began in 1992, when the VRS and Republika Srpska forces began attacking towns and villages in eastern Bosnia, such as Bijeljina and Zvornik, and forcing the Muslim population to move southwards towards the area of Srebrenica and Zepa. According to the prosecution, the joint criminal enterprise and operation to force the Muslims from the areas of Srebrenica and Zepa continued despite the formation by the United Nations of the Srebrenica and Zepa enclaves on the 6th of May 1993 as a result of Security Council Resolution number 824. The prosecutor alleges that throughout 1993, 94 and 1995, the authorities of the Republika Srpska continued to press for the departure of the Muslims from Srebrenica and Zepa. The charges that are the subject of the indictment that I mentioned earlier focus on the alleged joint criminal enterprise and operation which continued from 11th March 1995, when the policy to remove the Muslim population from Srebrenica and Zepa, according to the prosecutor, was formally enunciated by the then President Radovan Karadzic in Directive number 7 through the end of August 1995, when all the Muslims from Srebrenica and Zepa had been forced from the homes in the enclaves to the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. The indictment further states, quote, "In order to achieve the goal of the joint criminal enterprise and operation, as expressed in Presidential Directive number 7, to force the Muslim populations out of Srebrenica and Zepa, namely to leave the area, several actions were carried out, included but not limited to the following." This is what the prosecutor alleges. A. Making life unbearable for the inhabitants of the enclave. 2. Defeating the Muslim forces militarily. 3. Disabling the local United Nations forces militarily. 4. Preventing and controlling outside international protection of the enclaves, including airstrikes and international monitoring. And finally, controlling the movement of people out of the enclaves. According to the indictment, members of the joint criminal enterprise and operation made life unbearable for the inhabitants of the enclave by means of shelling civilian targets in Srebrenica and Zepa, and secondly, restricting humanitarian aid such as convoys of food, medicine and medical assistance notwithstanding dire shortages in the enclaves. The indictment further alleges that, quote, it was foreseeable to Zdravko Tolimir, Radivoje Miletic and Milan M.Gvero that individual criminal acts such as individual killings described in this indictment in paragraphs 52 and 53 and acts of persecution described in paragraphs 54b and c of this indictment would be carried out by the Serb forces during the joint criminal enterprise and operation to forcibly transfer and deport the populations of Srebrenica and Zepa enclaves. The indictment does list the members, the other members of the joint criminal enterprise, and I'm going to read out the names. From Republika Srpska, President Radovan Karadzic, General Ratko Mladic, the commander of the VRS, General Milenko Zivanovic, commander of the Drina Corps through about 20 hours on 13th July 1995. General Radislav Krstic, Chief of Staff, Deputy Commander through about 20 hours on the 13th of July 1995 and thereafter Commander of the Drina Corps. Colonel Petar Salapura, Chief of Intelligence of the Main Staff. Colonel Ljubizia Beara, Chief of Security of the Main Staff. Colonel Radoslav Jankovic, Intelligence Officer of the Main Staff. Major Dragomir Pechanak, Security Officer of the Main Staff. Colonel Vidoje Blagojevic, Commander of the Bratunac Brigade. Captain Momir Nikolic, Chief of Security and Intelligence, Bratunac Brigade. Colonel Vinko Pandurevic, Commander of the Zvornik Brigade. Lieutenant Colonel Dragan Obrenovic, Deputy Commander and Chief of Staff of the Zvornik Brigade. Lieutenant Colonel Rajko Krzmanovic, Drina Corps Chief of Transportation Services. Colonel Lazar Atsamovic, Drina Corps Assistant Commander for Rear Services. Ljubiza Borovchanin, Commander of Republika Srpska, Minister of the Interior Special Police Brigade. Various others, individuals, military, police units were involved, according to the prosecutor, in the operation to forcibly transfer and deport the Muslim population of Srebrenica and Zepa. This is in essence what is contained in the indictment against you. I wish to inform you that by the order of the President of this tribunal, Theodore Meron, dated 24th February 2005, and the order of the Vice President of this tribunal, Fausto Pocar, dated 28th of February 2005, this case was assigned to my trial chamber, that is Trial Chamber 2. Subsequently, by an order dated 1st of March 2005, that's yesterday, I designated myself as the pre-trial judge for the purpose of today's initial appearance, of both of you. Having premised all this, I will now proceed to conduct the procedural part of the initial appearance. in terms of, I'll do this in terms of Rule 62 of our Rules of Evidence and Procedure, following which I will then be turning my attention to you again, Mr. Miletic and Mr. Gvero, and ask you whether you are prepared to enter a plea to the charges that have been brought against you by the prosecutor. Mr. Miletic, could you stand up, please? According to Rule 62, but also according to the statute, I am tasked with the responsibility of making sure of a few details. I asked in the beginning of the sitting for your legal representation, and I was informed by Mr. Morrissey that he is duty counsel, has been appointed duty counsel. Basically, that means that he's been appointed for the purpose of this initial appearance and nothing else. I first of all want to know whether you are aware of this, that Mr. Morrissey is appointed only for the purpose of today's initial appearance.
Yes.
And do you have any remarks or any comments on this or matters related to your representation?
I have no objections to Mr. Morrissey.
All right. And I take it that you will be then dealing directly with the registrar as regards the appointment of the counsel that will follow, that will look after your interests for the purposes of the pre-trial proceedings and subsequently for the trial itself.
Your Honor, since you have given me the opportunity, when I said that I surrendered to this tribunal, when you said that I surrendered to this tribunal, I didn't surrender. A general doesn't surrender. I came voluntarily. I didn't surrender to anyone. That's the first thing I would like to point out. Secondly, I asked for a lawyer, and I would like that lawyer to be the lead counsel or the co-counsel in my case, since from the time that my lawyer established contact with the registry, which was on the 2nd or 3rd of December, I was then first asked to give a statement as a suspect, and as of that date there was communication between my lawyer and the OTP, the prosecution, and I'm surprised to hear that there is a problem with regard to defense counsel of my choice. I would like to ask you to grant me the right I have to choose my own lawyer in the interest of justice, in the interest of my case.
Yes, Mr. Miletic, the right of the accused to counsel of his own choice is not absolute. It is limited, and in the case of this tribunal, it is limited by what is provided by our rules and directives. The person who is entrusted by the instruments of this tribunal to deal directly with this matter is first and foremost the registrar, and the registrar knows exactly what his obligations are. I am not aware, simply because this is only the initial appearance till now, I'm not aware of the problems that you have mentioned, because obviously there has not been any correspondence or any contacts between myself, my chamber, and the registrar. But if there are problems in which the trial chamber can intervene, then I take it that you have and you should be granted all the opportunity to bring those problems to my attention. What I can promise you is that I will give them all due consideration, but nothing beyond that for the time being, because as I said, much that relates to the assignment of counsel falls within the prerogative and the discretion of the registrar. We intervene only when that discretion is not exercised in a reasonable manner. But I would be, of course, very much interested in knowing what the problem is, if indeed it exists, and only if it is not solved between you and the registrar. I don't know if Mr. Morrissey is aware of this, and whether he can be of any assistance. I don't think I can be of any further assistance, Mr. Morrissey. I'm sure you understand my position.
Your Honour, at this stage it may be that the matter can be resolved. There are some hopeful signs that it can be. I can say that the registry are having ongoing discussions, and that Mr. Miletic has been consistent in the position that he's put to this court, which he's entitled to do and entitled to press for counsel of his own choice. The registry is aware of matters. It doesn't appear to me, and I can indicate to the court now, that it doesn't appear to me that an impasse has been reached. I think ongoing discussions are occurring, and since there still is hope that a sensible resolution will happen, we shouldn't invoke the tribunal's direct involvement at this moment.
I appreciate that, Mr. Morrissey. Mr. Miletic, you've heard what your duty counsel has just stated. So I would suggest that we leave the matter here where it stands, and then we'll take it up later on if at all necessary, because in the meantime an agreement may be reached between you and the registrar. But if there is no such agreement, please do bring that to my attention, and I'll see to what extent the trial chamber can intervene. You may sit down. Thank you. Mr. Gvero, could you stand up, please? Again, Mr. Gvero, it's more or less the same procedure. You know that for the purpose of today's appearance, initial appearance, Mr. Poles has been appointed. I do not imagine that you have any objections to that. And assuming that you don't, I would like to know if you have any remarks that you would like to make here and now on matters related to your representation for the purpose of the pre-trial and also the trial proceedings.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to say something. The problem with counsel is something I see as a big handicap at the outset. While I was still in Belgrade, I chose a lawyer I know, attorney Tomislav Višnjić. I was convinced that he would be fully able to appear for me before this tribunal. I still believe that there is a possibility for him to be appointed my defense counsel. Secondly, last night I wrote, and this morning I submitted the name of another lawyer who, as far as I know, meets all the requirements to represent me before this tribunal. This is Mr. Dragan Krgović, an attorney from Belgrade. Should there be any problems with either one of these two attorneys, I would like this to be solved as soon as possible, because time is passing and this is to my detriment. I also wish to say the following. In agreement with the government of Serbia, I arrived voluntarily to appear before this tribunal, firmly convinced that there is a large potential here for justice and truth to come to light. And I believe that all those participating in these proceedings wish the same. As I am a calm person by nature, and I feel that there are some misunderstandings in connection with these charges, I'm sure that the truth will soon come to light to everyone's satisfaction. I only wish to ask that the supporting material with the indictment be delivered to me as soon as possible, since I have no counsel, because I'm not able to organize any gathering of material. Mr. President, my problem will be in that the job I had in the army and the main staff was a very special one, and this will be difficult to demonstrate in any great detail. However, I will do my best to assist this tribunal to arrive at the truth. And finally, by your leave, I assure you, as a moral and responsible person, that I did not kill so much as a sparrow throughout the war, let alone a person. And I did not have any units under my command. My job was information, morale, and cooperation with other institutions. I performed my job, deeply convinced that I was doing it properly. I was not fighting against any nation, but against the ideology leading nations into war against each other, and I hope to be able to prove this. That's all I wanted to say for now. Thank you, and please assist me to resolve the problem of my counsel as soon as possible.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gvero. You may sit down. Again, my advice to you is that first you proceed with the discussions with the registrar, who is the person, as I explained earlier, entrusted with the task of assigning counsel and co-counsel and legal assistance to each one of you. Also in deciding matters relating to legal aid, if there is an application for legal aid. For the time being, I am not aware of any problems. I take it that you will, like Mr. Miletic, inform the trial chamber if there are problems with the assignment of signing off of counsel of your choice, and my task then as pre-trial judge or as president of trial chamber to will be to see if it's the case of intervening or not. But for the time being, all I can do is to ask you to proceed with the discussions that you have already undertaken with the registrar of this tribunal. And with regard to the rest, I can assure you that whatever you have stated has gone in the records of this case and will remain there. Mr. Poles, I don't know if you can be of any assistance in relation to the matters raised by your client as regards representation.
Yes.
You are aware of the information.
Perhaps no more than Your Honour, to a limited extent, Your Honour, yes. May I firstly echo and endorse the comments made by my learned friend Mr. Morrissey on behalf of his client. A similar situation pertains to Mr. Gvero. Secondly, may I for the record state that obviously as duty counsel I only appear on behalf of Mr. Gvero today on a temporary basis, and he has been informed of that. Thirdly, and also for the record, may I respectfully request that the registrar deals with the issue of representation for Mr. Gvero as a matter of priority and deal with it as soon as possible. Obviously, certain matters that need to be dealt with imminently, for example, an application for provisional release, can only be undertaken and carried out once permanent counsel is assigned. So on behalf of Mr. Gvero, may I again respectfully ask that the matter is given the utmost and urgent attention.
Yes, I thank you, Mr. Popović. I don't think it's the case for me to enter any order to the registrar to that effect, because from my experience here, the registrar does take these matters, does give to these matters his utmost and immediate attention, and it's only when there are real problems that a delay in the decision-taking process occurs. However, I will, of course, Mr. Poles, when this initial appearance is over, try to find out with the registrar what these problems are, because I'm not aware of them, and as you can imagine, I don't come to the initial appearance and speak to the registrar before. I mean, it's simply not done. But I will check with him to see what the problems are and what are the prospects of a solution. I understand from what you have said that even in your case there doesn't seem to be a real impasse. So if there is no impasse, there's no point in me recommending to the registrar to do what he has always done.
Yes.
So I mean, I will leave it at that, and I will take it up on a personal level as pre-trial, as president of trial chamber with the registrar and see what the situation is. However, if this is prolonged, of course, I take it that it will be brought to my attention.
I'm very grateful for that indication.
I thank you, Mr.
May also indicate, of course, it doesn't appear that an impasse has been reached yet, and one would hope that this matter can be resolved relatively smoothly.
Okay, I thank you, Mr. Poles, and let's hope so.
Grateful.
Yes. Now, Mr. Miletic, could you stand up, please, again? Very soon I will be asking you whether you want to enter a plea to the charges that have been brought against you. But according to the rules, before I do so, I am tasked with asking you a few questions. My first question to you, could you kindly give me your full name for the record?
Yes, it's really...
My name is Radivoje Miletic.
Radivoje, do you spell it with a final E? Radivoje?
That's correct, with an E at the end, Radivoje.
Thank you. Second question, just in case, I know that in your country many individuals are also referred to by nicknames, like in my country. Do you have any nickname that others refer to you with?
There were several of them. It depended on the situation, but I don't think it's relevant now. There were various nicknames that were used. I don't know whether it's necessary to list all of them. I don't think it's necessary.
It's a question that I am asking. If you decide not to answer that question, you have every right not to answer it. But I am asking you the question. If you are, if you are aware of any nicknames that apply to you, please let us have them. Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. President, there are documents in this record, and nicknames will be an issue, and this could be a matter which could be incriminating against the general.
Yes, but I have warned him already of his right to remain silent. So if I were to recommend anything to you, although strictly speaking I shouldn't be recommending, but taking advantage of what has just been said by the officer in charge of the prosecution in this case, I would not insist in asking you to answer this question unless you prefer to answer it.
Honor, might I have the opportunity to approach Mr. Miletic and...
Yes, of course, Mr. Morrissey.
Thank you, Your Honour. I don't see in court an interpreter.
I can provide you with one. How can we solve this? We need someone who speaks the language.
Interpreter from the booth could assist.
An interpreter from the booth, but the interpreter would need to come into the courtroom.
And Your Honour, in those circumstances, might I approach, please? I don't think it's necessary to adjourn the court. I can...
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, this is a very simple procedure. I mean, yes, perhaps Mr. Morrissey, you could... Yes, Mr. Morrissey.
Your Honour, thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm instructed that Mr. Miletic would prefer not to answer that question.
Yes.
I'm very grateful to the prosecutor for indicating that duty counsel are in a position of simply not knowing the significance of some of these questions, and so I put that on the record as well.
I thank you, and I associate myself with the words of appreciation that you expressed in regard to the prosecution. I thank you. My next question to you, Mr. Miletic, is when were you born? Your date of birth?
On the 6th of December, 1947.
And your place of birth, where were you born?
I was born in the village of Stovice in Foča municipality in the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
And what is your nationality?
I'm a Serb, a citizen of the Federative Republic of Yugoslavia.
Yes, I am going to ask you another question now. If you prefer, the question is actually to give me the last address in which you resided before you came over here. Now, I understand that you may wish to answer or give this information in private session, because I don't think it is in anybody's interest, including your own, to have your private address transmitted worldwide. So if you prefer to go in private session, we go into private session. Yes, Mr. Morrissey, I take it you can handle this instead of your client. Let's go into private session, please. I take it that you have a family, and I want to make sure that your family are fully aware that you are here in The Hague, and that you are being kept in custody at the our detention unit in Scheveningen. Do you confirm that?
Yes, I do.
Are there any members of your family that you would like me to inform about your transfer here to The Hague and your state of detention here in The Hague?
Thank you. They have all been informed of the fact, all those who need to be aware of it.
Okay, thank you. The same question I put to you in relation to your embassy. I would imagine that your embassy is also aware of your transfer here to The Hague and your presence here. But if you think they are not, or you would like me as the presiding judge to do anything on your behalf with the embassy of your country, please let me know.
Thank you, Your Honor. They have been informed of the fact too. They were at the airport where they received me, so everything is fine as far as that is concerned.
I think you may sit down. Thank you. Mr. Gvero. we are going to go through the same procedure with you. We'll start with your full name for the record, please.
Milan.
M.Gvero.
Right, thank you. Again, I ask you whether you have any nicknames by which you are known or referred to. If you think that by answering this question you might prejudice your position, please just tell me that you would like not to answer the question. Yes, Mr. Poles.
I wonder if we could just preempt that by moving on and him not answering the question.
Thank you. Let's move to the next question. Your date of birth, please, Mr. Gvero.
No, I did not have any nicknames. At least not that I know of. My date of birth is the 4th of December 1937.
And your place of birth, please?
Mrkonjić
grad.
Your nationality?
For 30 years I was a Yugoslav. After the breakup of Yugoslavia, I have been a citizen of Serbia and Montenegro. Serbia and Montenegro.
Thank you. And now let's go into private session, please.